While the prospect of getting older can evoke fear and dread for many, it's also a time for rejuvenation and self-discovery. So whether you're looking to reinvent yourself or needing to support change, Ros and Cate are ironing out the wrinkles, taking the age out of ageism and answering all your questions, one wrinkle at a time. With advice from professionals, you'll be educated and supported. Through the personal stories of your peers from age 50 to 100, you'll be inspired, motivated, and offered hope. So follow us every week for an episode of Ironing Out the Wrinkles as we run fearlessly through the many changes that come with the second stage of life. Everything's better when we're doing it together.
Hello and welcome to our first episode of Ironing Out the Wrinkles. Let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Ros McMaster.
And I'm Cate Shaw, your other host.
And together we're taking a journey to ironing out the wrinkles. And of course, that doesn't mean we're saying wrinkles are a bad thing. But in this second phase of life, as we turn 50 and beyond, we're facing a lot of challenges and a lot of changes in life. And in ironing out the wrinkles, it's really a metaphor for helping you move through that, through the professional
bumps.
guests.
Yeah, the bumps in the road, yeah.
So we're using our professional guests and personal stories from our friends and people who are becoming our friends through the podcast. And this is the whole thing too about the podcast. Like we said, ironing out the wrinkles, taking the age out of ageism. It was just meant to be fun, and that was a tagline. And then when we did start the podcast and started investigating guests to come and speak, we realized that there was a whole movement out there to do with ageism that even involved the UN, the ageism that exists in the workplace that is very, very real, and people losing their jobs because they're getting a particular age. So, you know, there's this whole reason why people are fearing getting older, and it's not just about the wrinkles, it's about aged care. We're moving into a phase of feeling invisible, and that's a funny thing too. And I bought a bikini for the first time in my entire life, and my kids said, "Why now, Mum?" I said, "Because I've realized nobody's looking at me."
No.
So who cares? No one's looking at me. You know, I had a scar from so many surgeries that I've had for cancer. I had a scar from my chest to my pelvis, and I just thought, who cares? It was so liberating. And I said, well, you know what the worst thing is about getting older? That I've realized nobody is looking at me. It's good and it's bad, because you start to feel a little bit invisible. Yeah. You know, you're not represented on TV.
No,
you're not getting jobs.
Well, I'm not getting the auditions I used to get. I've spoken to other fellow actors who are kind of in my age group, and we've all had heaps of experience. You know, but one thing I noticed too, like, you worry about what everyone's thinking. I do that too much. But really, no one's worried about they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. They're just worried about themselves, which was enlightening to finally realise. I'm starting to grow up at almost 70. It's taken me a while.
What does change is once you hit 50, that's a pivotal turning point for people, and particularly for women and men, but that's when women start going through menopause. That's when a lot of life changes happen, and as many of our guests will tell you, that is a turning point. You know, just people often change careers, lose their jobs at that point. You know, a lot of marriages are starting to end at that point as well. Children are leaving home. So there's a lot of changes that we need to adjust to, and this is a time where we have an opportunity to really step into ourselves, our most authentic selves, and say, hey, it's my turn now. What do I want? Who am I?
And that's pretty scary to find out, who are you?
Oh, it's
because you kind of
scary.
lose yourself, because you've just been on going, working, you know, raising the family, looking after your husband. You kind of, I know we always put ourselves last.
And it's so important to move into that second phase of your life with joy and go after what you want. I was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. So I'm happy to say I had a 2 to 3 year prognosis. And that was 2016.
And it kept coming back and you kept pushing it away. Yeah,
but that was 2016. And that was the catalyst for me letting go of the last dregs of whatever insecurities I had. So the true blessing of cancer was that I finally looked at my life. There were so many things I wanted to do and achieve, and I never, ever was doing them. I was so afraid of being judged, of not being good enough. What if I get it wrong? There can't be any wrong if you're living your truth. I can't wait to get older because I had cancer especially, and I'm not even supposed to be here. It's like, every day it's like, all right, So anyway, so there's been a few turning points for you since 50.
My goodness, yeah. Well, I just was rolling along fine until my 50th birthday came along, and my boss, I worked for this doctor for 12 years. He was a cosmetic doctor, a very good one, and he actually said to me, well, you're 50. I hope you're doing everything you want to do in life, because most women in Australia died at the time, this is a while ago now, 83 or 84 years or something on average. And I thought, holy cow, that's not that long ago, not that far away, because I've been married for that length of time and it's gone just like a click. And I thought, oh my goodness. And so before I got married, I sang all over the world. I sang on a ship. I sang and I gave it all up. I was a studio singer. It was just wonderful. But I gave it all up for what I don't regret a minute of it. I'm so happy that I did what I did and married the man of my dreams and had my family, lived interstate. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm 50, but I can still get my music back. So at 59, I got thrown a whammy as well. I got breast cancer, but nothing. I mean, I was caught early, so thank goodness that didn't have what you had. So now I find myself in my 60s, and I'm had to evaluate just so many things. It was really looking at myself and a lot of changes, and realizing a lot of things that I thought mattered didn't matter really, and that everything is temporary. And learning to try not to sweat the small stuff, and trying not to be a pleaseaholic, which I've been since I was a kid. And now, heaven forbid, I'm going to be 70 in May.
Yes.
So I'm excited now, because all these people that we're speaking to, I feel so honoured and blessed. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two. I hope you all do too.
I'll go back a bit to what that doctor had said to you too. It's so important what you listen to and what you take in, and not believing the talk, because my stepmother also, she went to see a doctor. She's in her 70s, and he said to her, whatever travel you want to do, get it out of the way now, because the body starts breaking down after 70. Now, we can't deny that things happen as you get older.
Yeah.
You don't have the same sort of functions.
No, arthritis.
But, doctors who put that mindset into you, mindset is absolutely so important. Doctors that start telling you you're limited.
Well, look at you. You were told you weren't going to be here.
Yeah. You can't believe it.
Don't know,
the
Ros.
Power of the mind. Absolutely. Well, that's a challenge for me. As soon as someone says I can't do something, it's like, well, I'm going to show you. Do not limit yourself. When Cate and I were having the discussion about our different beauty routines, and I said, hey, how about we have a podcast on aging, because we're so different in, what's happening in our lives. Like I was talking about losing my marriage after 30 years. Well, Cate's been married for 48 years.
Yeah, and lucky.
And
Very
still
blessed.
Going strong.
So lucky.
Is that you initially said no to doing the podcast.
I can't believe I'm doing it. Yes.
And so then you changed your mind.
Yeah, my
so
husband
what was
talked
going
me into
on?
it. He just said that I think I'm way out of my comfort zone doing this. I like to have everything controlled if I can. I know I can't control everything, but with music, you kind of can. You rehearse, and all that's controllable, and I'm fine. But no, this is a totally new thing to do. And as my husband said, if you need to grow, and you have to take a risk. I've never been a risk taker, so this is huge for me. But I'm getting the bonus is that I might learn to grow up a bit better and be a better person by all these wonderful guests. So thank you for persuading me to do it.
And it is really exciting, and that raises a really another excellent point, Cate. And a lot of our guests, depending on the subject they're talking about, are going to cover this as well. It's that in order for change to happen, we need to take a risk, and we need to start becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if we're not comfortable with being uncomfortable, we won't make the changes that we want to make. And if you're not stepping into being who you want to be, like you might have wanted to do the podcast but was so afraid of all the risks or whatever it was that you were afraid of. Because Rob, you've done lots of
podcasts and you're a real star at them. But for me, I've never done any. I've done lots of radio, but that's different.
But that was the cancer that plummeted me into not, what am I afraid of? This is so crazy. And I just let go of all those fears. But it's so important, because if you're not living your life and your dream and your passion, you're likely to be so disappointed in yourself, and you'll be sad and depressed, and you'll never feel fulfilled. Or you'll also go down the route of blaming other people for why you're not making the choice.
Excuse.
You have a choice. You always have a choice.
Well, I don't want to be on my deathbed and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. I would rather have a go, and if I fail, at least I've had a go. And there's no such thing as failure anyway. You just learn, don't you? It might be embarrassing, but you learn. You just learn. There's no such thing as failure. And because remember what you said in the beginning, nobody's actually thinking about you as much as what you think they are. They're thinking about themselves. They're worried about, they've got the same worries probably.
We always ask our guests to round off with a special message for people. And everyone pretty much is saying the same thing, no matter what age they are, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, be kind.
And love.
Love yourself, love others, find compassion. We spend so much of our lives working to accumulate money and possessions and raising our families and being self-absorbed. And in this second half of life, we really need to reassess our priorities. And some people just naturally move into that phase, and for some people it's things that are happening that make them sit back and reassess their priorities. And the most important thing is the mark that you're leaving behind.
How you make people feel.
What impact are you leaving on the world? And it doesn't have to be that you're out there giving away a kidney or it's whether or not you're smiling at people
might
that
be
you
the only
pass on the
smile
street.
Someone gets. They might be lonely. But
and it, just on a closing note, something a lot of people don't want to speak about is death. But my attitude about death is that we should live every day as though we are dying, because we are all going to die. We can't avoid it. We need to think about the end time, because that makes us think about what we're leaving behind now, the unhealed relationships that we need to heal, if there's toxic people that we need to let go of in our
with
lives.
Love and blessings.
So I live every day as though I am dying, because it makes me put everything I need to put into this day, this moment, in a positive way. And so what we want you to get out of the podcast is that you learn something about yourself, that you're motivated, inspired, feel supported, that you're educated, and that we've helped you to change and move beyond sadness and depression in some way. Because especially if you're fearing moving into the second part of your life, we want you to know that we're here for you, our guests are here for you, and the people with their personal stories are here for you.
And we think you're very special. Every single human being is unique in every single way.
We're on this journey with you.
So thank you for listening. It's so exciting to have you here, and I hope that you all get a lot out of it.
One little saying that helped me when I was 50 and first lost my marriage, what I was grieving was the dream that I had for what my future would look like as a married couple. So in order to have the life I truly wanted and deserved, I had to let go of the life I thought I wanted. And that's where change comes, and that's where the risk comes and the choice comes. So get out there and live your best life.
And tough times don't last. They really don't. They seem like they are, but they don't, do they?
So go with blessings.
Yeah. Thank you.